I'm kinda shocked it took this long to get this island. Tribal Island is pretty interesting in every sense, except a musical one. On a purely musical standpoint, it's actually a fairly underwhelming song to talk about in terms of complexity and musical theory. Now, does that make it a bad song? Well, not necessarily. Let's take a look at its high and low points to further state what exactly I mean by that. So, number 3 on our worst list is... Wait, hold on. I think my list is a little bugged here. Hold on, let me just... Oh, no. Oh, okay, it's supposed to be like that. Well, then I guess we're doing it this way then. Number 1, worst on Tribal Island, is Potbelly. Yeah, there's only one monster on this island that genuinely can be considered bad. Why that is simply because it's just obnoxious and has a really awkward fourth note that doesn't work well. Whether that's because it's sour or just clashing is up in the air, but either way, it doesn't really work in the song. I don't really hate this track as much as I have for the past number 1 spots, but I also don't really care about it. So, yeah. Dishonorable mentions include the following monsters. Toe Jammer is kind of nothing in the song, and it reeks of missed opportunity as it currently stands. I understand what they were going for, but the voice is much too low registering to properly function in that role. Tweedle is Tweedle, meaning it's in the bottom simply because its voice is still pretty annoying, and especially in this island, it really doesn't serve any sort of major role. Sponge has the Gold Island problem of just not really sounding like a genuine whistling, and more so it sounds like musical inhaling. This is really notable when it plays literally the same thing as like 3 other monsters in the verse it plays in. Thumpies is a disappointing monster, and this island is the last disgraceful instance of these things, which is a silver lining, but they're still bad on this island, so they don't deserve silver linings. So, yeah, this island doesn't really have any bad things. It's more so just a series of mildly unsatisfying things. Usually by YSM standards, this is reserved for islands that are like the best of what they do. I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but I will say this island is not at all in the ballpark of those islands, as you will now see. Number 3 on our best list is the Funny Dino T-Rox. This thing, as you probably have noticed, is really fast on this island, to the point where it looks almost panicked in its animations. This really helps to alleviate the song's main issue, which is its sluggishly slow pacing, as a really fast-paced kick drum line helps the song feel a lot faster. All in all, this is a solid drum track for the song, and it really has a lot of room to shine in the whole, like, product. At number 2, we got the Funny Percussionist of Shrub. This is straight up Shrub's best island. It pops off hard in the opening, and while it's not as notable in the rest of the song, it still really pops off in the opening, and I don't know, man, I just really like it. It's not going to win any prizes in the long run, but I really admire this track and will gladly give it the shining honor of a second place spot, especially for such an underappreciated monster. Number 1 is another really out there choice because we have quite the oddball pick. It is absolutely gotta go to Scups for the best on this island, since this track slaps when it plays. This is a top tier track for percussion, and it combines all the wacky aspects of the monster with the sick rhythmic complexity the monster usually provides. You guys know me by now. I don't praise a monster for no good reason. I just genuinely think Scups is like a really good monster that people really tend to underappreciate. I'm not even that much of a fan of Scups in general, but after going through the series, like Air Island, Water Island, Tribal Island, all of these tracks slap really hard. Honorable mentions include the following monsters. Pummel's little transitions are constant and very sick. Tom rules for transition are always really fun and work really well. TheCybop is great as always, and it practically owns the outro with how good it is. Not much else needs to really be said about TheCybop since it's practically always a banger. Mammoth is such a solid monster, and I always appreciate what it does in any song it's in. It only plays in one part, but that part is like the best part of the song, so it's sick. Fwog is always really funny in the first game. I love this monster on this island in particular, since it's really good in the part it plays, which is still the best verse of the song, so it's a banger. Bogart is sick, and once more, on this island, it is an absolute banger, giving us two really nice tracks that really complement their respective verses. Deej is another really nice percussion monster in the opening of the song. It is not quite as noticeable as the others, but it's still a really good complementary track, and I appreciate that. Alright, well, Tribal is an interesting case because in the long run, it's really not that interesting. All of the top 3 are percussion tracks that overall don't impact the song, but that's mostly because this song barely has anything to impact. It's got no really strong high points outside of the opening and that one Mammoth verse, yet it also doesn't have interestingly bad parts like Cold or Wubblin'. It's just a really bland song that has nothing to really dissect or look at more thoroughly. I enjoy this song a lot more than the really bad ones, but overall it's just a really disinteresting piece of music to talk about. It's definitely not a bad piece of music, but it's not particularly anything to write home about. Alright, so next week we are banning Light Island from votes simply because it's really new and also there are some deep disagreements within our group, so we need to really iron those out before effectively being able to run the podcast. Other than that, we only have like 3 more islands left to talk about, which is fairly exciting for me. The rest of the songs are also really fun and interesting to talk about, so hopefully we get some real fun discussions out of those. Alright, that's it for me, and like always, I'll see you all in the next video. Alright, so Tribal Island. This is pretty solidly top of C. Maybe interchangeable with Plant, they're about the same to me. It's not a bad song. Top of C is not bad. This isn't school. You can get a passing grade at that level. It's not a really interesting song, but it's not a bad one. It does the bare minimum, and in a way I can kind of respect that. It doesn't need to be flashy like Bone's rhythmic complexity or Cave's polyrhythmic flares. It's perfectly fine just being a serviceable song that's enjoyable. It's very important to the lore of MSM, but this is just musical. Overall, there's just not a lot to say about the song. It is a very basic song. There is nothing to dissect in it. It's just a song. The most I can say about it is, in fact, indeed, a song.